Now the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy: lead better, live better, love what you do, and other than Miss Rachel Edmondson-Clarke.
Daniel, thank you so much for having me.
Welcome, Miss Rachel, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Oh, yes, of course. So, I am a leadership performance specialist and the founder of Elevar. I work with senior leaders who are juggling high demand, changing environments, and deep responsibility. And I help them to bring greater clarity, energy, and humanity back to the way that they lead and live. As you mentioned in the introduction already, my mission is really simple. It's to help leaders to lead better, live better, and genuinely love what they do, even when it's hard. Sustainable performance isn't about pushing harder, but about connecting more deeply. So I'm excited for this conversation and to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
And you are most welcome. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with the world. Thank you. And today let's talk about energy edge, the formula for sustainable high performance. So tell us, what suggests move from a time management mindset to an energy mindset means? Why is it this shift the most critical for a staff for achieving sustainable high performance?
Mm. It's interesting, isn't it? I often ask some of my clients, who gets the best of you? Is it home? Is it work? And what if the 35, 40 hour a week version of you was actually more valuable to your organization or your business than the 60, 70, 80 hour a week version of you? And, I think that really plays into this very often. High performers, in particularly, will push harder and harder and harder, keep working, and let's keep pushing and striving for the next thing. And sometimes that regular rest and restoration actually makes us more efficient and more productive, more creative, and allows us to have the cognitive capacity and capability to show up as better, more effective leaders. And I think that plays into your question there around, kind of, it's not necessarily just about time management, but how are we managing our own energy and capacity to be able to deal with things and deal with them and lead well.
Interesting, Miss Rachel. In a culture that glorifies hustle, what does sustainable high performance actually look and feel like on a day-to-day basis? How is it different from boom and bust cycles many high achievers experience?
Mm, mm. I can completely relate to this in the sense that I have had challenges myself with burnout, thankfully many years ago now. But this is something that we do see a lot in high performers. They are often in high performing environments. They're around other people who are performing, and striving and achieving and doing great things. And it can be a real problem, and we get into cycles of depletion and burnout, and we're not as sensitive as we could be to better restoring ourselves along the way. And so, a lot of the work that I will do, either with individuals that I'm coaching or with senior leadership teams is about how are we building regular restoration and integrating that into our day-to-day working lives. And so many of us today, just simple practical things, like many of us spend a great deal of time in front of computers, sat at desks, and things like getting regular movement, daylight, nature, time with people who we care about, taking time to eat well and regularly. All these things just help to restore and top us up. And they can be integrated into a working day. How often might we jump on a on a on a Zoom call or a Teams call, when actually we could take the phone call and do it the old-fashioned way and go and get some daylight and fresh air whilst we do that. So being able to do that, and it really does, and integrating that in the habits, in the routines, in the rituals that we have, in a way that works for each of us individually. It's really important to stop that sort of that negative cycle.
Negative cycle indeed. And Miss Rachel, most people think of energy as a purely physical. Can you briefly outline the different dimension of energy that your formula addresses, and why optimizing only one recipe for burnout?
So, Daniel, if I've understood your question, you're asking me what's the formula for being able to sustain our energy? Is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we've touched on some aspects of this already. So, what are our inputs, I suppose, into our energy, our mood, and also our ability and bandwidth to be able to deal with stress? Well, very simply, many of those things are the stuff that our grandmothers told us to do. It's things like good sleep and daylight and movement and spending time in nature and with people who we care about, good nutrition. So, what are our habits with regards to those things? I know for certain that when I ended up burning out, I hadn't been paying full attention to those things. And it's not always easy, because the reality is that many of us, um, we would love to have those days where we can go off to a spa, or we can wrap ourselves in bubble wrap and do all of the things that we might like to do. But the reality for many of us leaders out there is that we are grinding, the pressure is on. And so how do we, when we are either out in the wild or when we are paying the price, how do we then maintain some habits that keep us on track and restored and operating within our within the parameters within which we can perform at our best? And this is another challenge for high performing people. They'll often be like, well, I've got to go hit the gym for at least half an hour a day. And I have to really challenge them. No, actually, what about, it's just about some intentional movement. This might actually be about, if you are paying the price, you're traveling with work, you've got key deadlines or things to meet. This might be something as simple as, do you know what, I can commit to doing 20 squats, 50 squats, whatever it is, whilst I'm brushing my teeth this morning. It's it really is about it's about how we it's how we look after those habits and routines, how we look after our biology that impacts our energy.
Indeed, how do we look up our energy for sure? So, how does the ads in the title represent, or our topic represent? Is it competitive advantage, a state of flow, or a personal boundary that protects your energy?
So so energy is a really interesting thing. We've got the biology of it, and we've also got the psychology of it as well. And it's it's not only, of course, from a fundamental perspective, we must look after those inputs that we've just been talking about. But we also know that external things can have an impact on us and our energy, whether that is something or someone. And without our energy, we really don't have the ability to show up as the leaders, the parents, the spouses, the siblings, the co-workers that we might really want to. Our energy is everything. Everything comes from that. So when we can better understand what serves and protects and nourishes our energy, that's going to impact our behaviors, our actions, and our results at a completely different level. So it's all of what you've just said.
It's all about energy, people. And Miss Rachel, as you advocating to lead better, live better, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Oh, short and long term goals. So short term goal for me is we're looking at moving house. I have two young boys, and we are wanting to move to a location to get them into a particular school that we found for them. And as part of that, I think that's useful to share. I've been looking at how I refine my business so that actually I'm able to be with my family and have that time and financial freedom to be able to support them whilst we make that move over the next couple of years. I think this all comes back down to our values and what we find, what's most important to us. And those values are just a generalization of experiences that are important to us, but being really clear on those and then moving in alignment with that is deeply, deeply fulfilling. So that's a short-term goal. Longer term. I my my work is what I would describe as my soul's contract, and longer term that is to be ever evolving and to continue to serve the clients that I love, um, and trusting trusting in that, um, that when we remember that we are really one with all that is, miracles come. And so to be ever evolving is my longer term goal, and to keep following my heart and my spirit and being true to that.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Rachel, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Oh goodness. um don't be like me, be like the best version of you. My advice would be this: think about who you are becoming. Who do you most want to become in this next chapter, in this next season ahead? Be really clear on that outcome and just live towards it with gentleness and kindness, because we all can take a step forwards and a step back at times, and life isn't one straight line. But know where you're headed, know who you most want to become, and be kind to yourself on that journey.
Yes, be kind to yourself. Give grace to yourself, people. And thank you for that advice, Miss Rachel. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Oh my goodness. Yes, of course I can. There's many, many, many books, but the one I've picked for us today is The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. And I wanted to recommend this not because it's really about sales, but it's really a book about how to live. And it teaches timeless principles about discipline, compassion, courage, and daily practice. And it's only a really small book, but it is one that has stayed with me and has really supported me with very powerful reminders about the kind of person that you choose to be.
Yes, how to live. I like that, Miss Rachel. I like that. And thank you for that recommended book. And what is the role of the morning routine in setting up your energy edge for the day? Is there one element that has an outside impact?
I think so. I think any of our routines, habits, and rituals are really important, as we've been talking about. Morning routines are something that's been talked an awful lot about in the personal development space, and I think it's about people. I advocate for people being a scientist of yourself and working out what supports you best. I would always say that your day begins the night before. So, looking at not only your morning routine, but also your nighttime one, because that will set you up well for sure. I have my own morning routine, which involves making, sure that I have this very large bottle of water by the side of my bed, and I drink
Mhm.
that whilst reading a book first thing in the morning. My phone is nowhere near my bed, it's in the other room. And that is part of what really helps set me up for a good for a good day. I also walk my children to school, so I get that fresh air, that daylight, that movement, that exercise, and that social connection with them as well in the mornings, which is really important to me. But everybody will have their own routine, and I just encourage people um, to take that look at what serves them best. I know it can be really easy. We find things that work well, and then for some reason we might have stopped some of those habits. So I encourage people listening, if you know that there are things that serve you well, then take another look at those things. And from a habit perspective, I'd also recommend Atomic Habits by James Clear to help with implementing some of those things.
Yes, definitely. James Clear, highly recommended. What are the biggest drains on our mental energy in the modern workplace? And what is the most effective strategy to protect it, Miss Rachel?
Well, there's lots, isn't there? And even before we get into the workplace, there's such a lot happening in the world right now, whether it's geopolitical, whether it's environmental change, whether it's rapid advancement in technology. Before we even get into our own personal lives, what's happening with our families or within our organizations, I think there is a huge strain on our cognitive load. There is a massive amount of information that is out there, and there's a huge amount of change. And all of that can create real fatigue. And again, I'm going to come back to looking at our habits and what we're doing. The technology and phones are just a wonderful thing, but actually, what's your hygiene like around those? I've already mentioned my phone is not by my bed when I'm sleeping, but I also make sure that my phone is really clean. It's a black screen. It's very few apps on the like only the essential apps. It's no notifications on. It's protecting. It's protecting our is protecting our energy and our focus, because otherwise there's so much to be able to distract us. So really looking after that, I think is helpful.
It helpful indeed. On overcoming obstacles and mindset, Miss Rachel,
Mm.
many high achievers derive their self worth from being busy. How do you help someone break this addiction and redefine their identity around being strategically energized instead?
So if I miss, forgive me, Daniel, I'm deaf in one of my ears and I missed a little bit of your question, but I think what you're asking for me is high achievers, they derive their success from being busy all of the time. That suggests to them that they're being successful, yes?
Yes, please.
And the other part of your question was?
Was how to redefine the identity around being strategically energized instead.
How do we redefine identities? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I love this question. And, you're going right to the heart of that deep transformational change here in terms of our beliefs around who we are. Will drive so it will drive our behaviors. And so this is really, really, really important. How do we do that when somebody sees their success as being busy? Sometimes it takes somebody to get to almost like a burnout point, or to a critical point where actually they almost have to get to that low before they realize, hang on a minute, this being super busy is not a recipe for success. In fact, this is impeding my creativity, my cognitive capacity, my ability to be able to deal with things. And so sadly, often, with the leaders that I work with, they've kind of got to a point where they realize that it's not working anymore. It's leading to dysfunctional teams and issues. And and how do we redefine that? Well, it is at that identity level, and helping people to shift that and see themselves as something that's different is part of the deeper work that I will do with people. um, and I suppose, difficult as that is to get into in a short conversation like this, I would say that remembering that restoration is not the reward for the hard work, and busyness doesn't necessarily mean that we are successful. Think about restoration, pause, and space as a critical input to your high performance.
Miss Rachel, if someone fully embodied this formula, what is the ultimate payoff they can expect? Is it a greater success, more happiness, better health, or combination?
When you are truly living in this place of greater alignment, it is more peace, it's more joy, it's it's flow. Magic can happen, and life feels deeply fulfilling. And it doesn't mean that things don't get challenging still from time to time, but you welcome those challenges and you welcome that resistance because it's showing you the path and where to go. Um, and it's this beautiful journey.
Beautiful journey indeed, Miss Rachel. Before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in third season, and food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101, Love Letters, a Movie 101 Review, Music 101, our fourth season, Science 101, Sex 101, its second season on my baby podcast, Law 101, Mental Health 101, and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Rachel, if you could have every listener start their journey by asking themselves one powerful question about their energy, what would it be?
Mm. Who are you becoming?
Hmm, interesting question. And why is that question?
It's back to the identity and the identity beliefs. And so, thinking about who you most want to become, and that we actually never stop becoming, is a is a is is a really important question for all of us, me included, to pause and take time to consider.
Yes, Miss Rachel. Again, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, if anything that we've shared here has resonated with you, then please do get in touch at Elevar. That's ELLEVAR.co.uk.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Rachael Edmondson-Clarke because if you support her, for sure more and more empowering advocacy will rise. So, Miss Rachel, thank you so much for your time.
Daniel, thank you to you and all you do. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise. So, more to come, people. See you soon.